I'm 120 years old, and if you're scrolling through your phone right now, looking for someone to tell you that you have all the time in the world, you've come to the wrong place. But if you want to know what it's like to be at the very end of the line, looking back at a century of mistakes and a few flashes of gold, then lean in, darling. Look at these hands. They're like old parchment now, covered in spots and maps of veins that lead nowhere. But 100 years ago, these hands held the hearts of men who would have burned down cities just to see me smile. I wasn't just pretty, I was the girl. I was the one they wrote songs about, the one who walked into a room and made the air go still. In the 1920s and 30s, I was the fire that everyone wanted to be near, and I spent every waking second soaking up that heat. I had the boyfriends, the fast cars, the illegal gin in secret clubs, and the kind of beauty that made me feel like a god. I thought that power would last forever. I thought being hot was a permanent status, not a temporary loan with a high interest rate. And if you're young and beautiful right now, thinking that your face is your fortune, I want you to listen to me very carefully, because the cliff comes faster than you think. I spent the first 40 years of my life being looked at. That was my job, or at least I thought it was. I spent hours in front of the mirror, painting my lips, curling my hair, making sure every stitch of my dress was perfect. I lived for the likes of my day, the whistles on the street, the flowers delivered to my door, the way a man would stumble over his words when I looked him in the eye. I had a string of boyfriends, one after the other, like pearls on a necklace. I didn't care about their souls. I cared about how they looked next to me. I wanted the handsome ones, the rich ones, the ones who could take me to the best parties where I could be seen. We would stay out until the sun came up, laughing until our ribs ached, driving too fast down dark roads, thinking we were invincible. I remember one summer in particular, I think it was 1934, I had 3 different men convinced they were the only one. I felt so powerful. I felt like the world was a toy I could play with and break if I got bored. But do you want to know the truth? Out of all those boyfriends, all those nights of fun, I can't remember a single deep conversation we had. I can't remember what any of them dreamt about. I only remember how they made me feel like a star. I was a star in a sky that was already beginning to turn. When you're the hot girl, people treat you like a prize, and you start to believe you are one. But a prize is something you put on a shelf and eventually forget to dust. By the time I hit 50, the look started to change. It wasn't overnight, but it was steady. The whistles stopped. The doors didn't get held open as often. The men in the room started looking past my shoulder at the 20-year-old girl standing behind me. And because I had built my entire identity on my reflection, I felt like I was disappearing. I was still Evelyn, but the world decided I was now the older woman. I panicked. I spent money I didn't have on creams and potions and dresses that were too young for me, trying to claw back a decade that had already slipped through my fingers. I was terrified of being invisible. I see you girls now, with your filters and your surgeries, trying to freeze time in a digital bottle. You want to be snatched and perfect, but you're fighting a war against gravity and time, and I am here at 120 to tell you that time has never lost a battle, not once. You are spending your most precious years trying to maintain a facade that is destined to crumble. You're performing for strangers who don't care if you live or die, while the people who could actually love you are being pushed aside because they don't fit your aesthetic. I had a friend back then. Her name was Clara. Clara wasn't the beauty I was. She was quiet, she read books, and she didn't care for the parties. I used to feel sorry for her. I used to think she was missing out on life because she wasn't the center of attention. But when we hit our 60s, Clara was the one with the deep roots. She had a husband who knew her favorite flower and the way she took her tea. She had children who actually wanted to talk to her, not just because she was their mother, but because she was a person of substance. I, on the other hand, had a series of failed marriages and a house full of expensive things that couldn't hold my hand when I got sick. I had spent so much time being hot that I forgot to become warm. I forgot to build a heart that people wanted to stay near once the lights went down. My beauty was a cage that I had locked myself in, and when the beauty faded, I realized I hadn't built anything inside the cage. I was empty. I cried myself to sleep for years, mourning the loss of a face that was never really mine to keep anyway. Don't let that be you. Don't be the girl who wakes up at 70 and realizes she has 1 million followers, but not one person to call when she's scared. You kids with your phones, I see you. You're addicted to the rush of being seen. You think that if you don't post it, it didn't happen. You think that your value is tied to how many people want to look at you. But let me tell you something about being 120. None of those people matter. When you're lying in a bed at the end of your life, you won't be thinking about the guy who sent you a fire emoji on your photo. You won't be thinking about how thin your waist was in that one dress. You'll be thinking about the moments you were actually present, the smell of the ocean, the feeling of a real hand in yours, the sound of a voice that truly knew you. I wasted so much of my hot years being a performer. I was so worried about how I looked from the outside that I never looked at what was happening on the inside. I had boyfriends who didn't know I was afraid of the dark. I had friends who only liked me because I was the cool one. It was all so shallow. It was like drinking salt water. The more I got, the thirstier I became. True happiness isn't being desired by the world. It's being known by a few good people. I remember a night in the late 40s, right after the war. I was at a party in New York, wearing a silk dress that cost more than a car. I was surrounded by men, all of them trying to get my attention. I felt like the queen of the world, but I felt a sudden, sharp pang of loneliness in the middle of that crowded room. I realized that if I disappeared right then, those men would just turn to the next pretty girl and keep laughing. I was a decoration. I was a temporary amusement. I walked out of that party and sat on a bench in Central Park, and I cried. I cried because I realized I was 100% replaceable. My beauty made me popular, but it didn't make me loved. And there is a massive difference between the two. You can be the most beautiful woman in the world and still be the loneliest person on earth. I want you to understand that your hotness is a distraction. It's a distraction from the real work of being a human being. It's a distraction from kindness, from empathy, from learning, from growing. While you're busy being a 10, you're neglecting the parts of you that will actually matter when you're a 0 in the eyes of society. I'm 120 now. I've outlived everyone I ever loved. I've outlived the men who fought over me, the women who envied me, and the children I finally had when it was almost too late. I am a relic. But in this old wrinkled body, I have found a peace that the hot Evelyn never knew. I don't care what I look like anymore. I don't care about the mirror. When I look at myself now, I see a woman who survived. I see a woman who finally learned that the only thing that lasts is the love you give away. I spent 50 years taking attention, taking admiration, taking time. I've spent the last 70 years trying to give it back. I've learned that a smile from a stranger is worth more than 1,000 whistles. I've learned that the beauty of a soul is the only beauty that doesn't sag or wrinkle. I see you girls hurting yourselves, starving yourselves, hating yourselves because you don't look like a computer-generated image. Stop it. Just stop. You are a miracle of biology, not a product to be sold. You are a person, not a profile. If I could go back to my 20-year-old self, the one who thought she was the center of the universe, I wouldn't tell her she's beautiful. She already knew that, and it was her undoing. I would tell her to be kind. I would tell her to read more books. I would tell her to listen more than she talks. I would tell her to find a man who looks at her soul and not just her legs. I would tell her that the parties will end, the gin will run out, and the music will stop, and she needs to be someone she likes being alone with when the room goes quiet. I would tell her that her body is a vessel for her spirit, and if she doesn't fill that spirit with something real, she's going to be a very lonely old woman. I'm 120, and I'm telling you, don't be a decoration. Don't be a hot girl who has nothing else to offer. Be a woman of substance. Be a woman of character. Be a woman who knows that her value doesn't drop just because her skin does. I think about the boyfriends sometimes. I think about Charlie, who had a laugh like a thunderstorm. I think about James, who drove a silver convertible and thought he owned the world. I think about them all, and I wonder if they ever found what they were looking for. We were all so young, so foolish, so focused on the surface of things. We were like children playing with diamonds in the dark, never realizing that the light was what made them shine. You have the light right now. It's in your eyes, it's in your energy, it's in your time. Don't waste it on people who only want to look at you. Spend it on people who want to see you. Spend it on things that make you a better person, not just a prettier one, because one day you will be where I am. You will be sitting in a chair watching the sunset, and you will want to know that you actually lived, not just that you were admired. I'm 120, and I'm still here. I'm still breathing, still thinking, still feeling. And I am telling you that life is so much bigger than your reflection. It's bigger than your hotness. It's bigger than the male gaze or the likes on your screen. It's about the connection between two souls. It's about the way you help someone who can do nothing for you. It's about the legacy of kindness you leave behind. When I die, they won't put "she was hot" on my gravestone. They'll talk about the way I made them feel. They'll talk about the stories I told. They'll talk about the love I finally learned to give. And that, darling, is the only thing that matters. So, take the makeup off once in a while. Put the phone down. Look at the world with your own eyes, not through a lens. Be messy, be real, be flawed. Because a flawed, real human being is 1,000 times more beautiful than a perfect, hollow shell. I see the world changing, and sometimes it scares me. I see people becoming more and more obsessed with the exterior while the interior is rotting away. We have more ways to connect than ever, yet we are more disconnected than ever. We are a society of lonely people looking at photos of other lonely people, pretending we're all having a great time. It's a tragedy. Break the cycle. Be the one who says, "I'm not okay," or "I'm scared," or "I need a friend." Be the one who values depth over surface. I've lived 120 years, and I promise you, the only people who are truly happy at the end are the ones who were brave enough to be vulnerable, the ones who didn't hide behind a mask of perfection. I hid for a long time. I was hot Evelyn for 40 years, and I was miserable. I've been old Evelyn for 80 years, and I've never been happier, because old Evelyn doesn't have anything to prove. Old Evelyn knows that she is loved for who she is, not what she looks like. And that is a freedom that no hot girl will ever know unless she chooses to walk away from the mirror. I am 120. I am a daughter of the 19th century, a witness to the 20th, and a guest in the 21st. I have seen it all. And the one thing that never changes is that we all just want to be loved. But you can't be loved if you're always hiding behind a filter. You can't be loved if you're always playing a character. You have to be you. Even the parts of you that aren't hot, even the parts of you that are sad or angry or confused, those are the parts that people can actually connect with. Those are the parts that create real intimacy. So stop trying to be a goddess. Just be a woman. Just be a human. It's enough. I promise you, it's more than enough. Thank God for every wrinkle, for every scar, for every gray hair, because they are the receipts of a life actually lived. They are the proof that you were here, that you felt things, that you survived. Don't try to erase them. Wear them like a crown. I'm tired now. 120 years is a long time to carry a heart around. But before I go, I want you to do me a favor. Tonight, before you go to bed, look at yourself in the mirror, not to check your makeup or your hair, but look into your own eyes. Look at the person living inside that body and say, I love you to that person. Because if you don't love the person inside, it doesn't matter how many people love the person on the outside. You are a miracle. You are a flame. Don't let the world blow you out. Don't let the pressure to be perfect steal your joy. Be brave. Be kind. Be real. And remember that hotness is just a flicker, but a good heart is a sun that never sets. I'm still here, 120 years in. And I'm still smiling, not because I'm pretty, but because I'm finally truly me. Thank God for one more day. What are you going to do with yours? Now put that phone away and go live, really live, for me, for you, for the soul that is waiting to be seen. I think back to the 1920s sometimes, the smell of the perfume, the sound of the jazz, the way the silk felt against my skin. It was a beautiful dream, but it was just a dream. The reality is what happened after the music stopped. The reality is the marriages I had to work at, the children I had to raise, the losses I had to endure. And those things, the hard things, are what made me who I am. My beauty was a distraction from my strength. It was only when I lost my beauty that I found my power. I found that I could survive grief. I found that I could build a life from the ashes. I found that I was more than just a face, and you are more than just a face, too. You are a force of nature. Don't let the world convince you otherwise. Don't let a like or a comment define your worth. You define your worth by the way you treat people, by the way you handle failure, and by the way you love. I'm 120, and I've seen the American dream change a dozen times. But the real dream, the one that actually matters, is the dream of being truly alive, not just existing, not just being seen, but being alive, feeling the wind on your face, the heat of the sun, the pain of a broken heart, and the joy of a new morning. I've had 120 years of mornings, and I'm grateful for every single one of them, even the ones where I woke up alone, even the ones where I woke up in pain because I was still here. I was still part of the story, and you are part of the story too. Make it a good one. Make it a story about more than just a girl who was hot. Make it a story about a woman who was wise, who was brave, and who was loved for all the right reasons. I'm closing my eyes now, but I want you to keep yours open, wide open. See the world, see the people around you, see the beauty in the mundane. Don't wait until you're 120 to realize that the best parts of life are the ones you can't capture in a photo. They're the ones you feel in your soul. Be good to yourself, darling. Be good to each other. Life is a beautiful, terrifying, wonderful gift. Don't waste it being anything less than who you truly are. I'm 120, and I'm telling you, it was all worth it. The beauty, the loss, the wrinkles, and the peace. It was all worth it. Now go and make your own life worth it too. Goodbye, sweetheart. Make it count. I remember a moment, maybe 70 years ago, sitting on a porch in Virginia. The fireflies were out, and the air smelled like honeysuckle. I was with a man who didn't care about my dresses or my hair. He just liked the way I thought about the world, and in that moment I realized that I didn't need the parties or the boyfriends or the admiration of strangers. I just needed to be me. That was the moment my life truly began. I was 50 years old, and I was finally starting to live. Don't wait 50 years. Start tonight. Start by being honest with yourself. Start by letting go of the need to be perfect. Start by being a human being. It's the most beautiful thing you can be. 120 years. What a ride. I'm glad I was here. I'm glad you're here. Now go and do something wonderful with your time. God bless you, and God bless the beautiful, messy, real life you're about to live. I'm sitting here, and I can hear the world moving outside my window. It's a loud, fast world, and it's so easy to get swept up in it. It's so easy to feel like you're falling behind if you're not always on. But listen to me. The world doesn't care if you're on. The world only cares if you're there. Be there. Be present. Be in the moment, because the moments are all we have, and they go by so fast. 1 minute you're 20 and hot, and the next you're 120 and wise. And in between, there is a whole world of beauty and pain that you don't want to miss because you were too busy checking your reflection. I'm 120, and I've learned that the secret to happiness is simply being present for your own life. Don't miss it. Don't sleepwalk through your best years. Wake up. Be here. Now. Thank you for listening to an old woman. I know I've talked a lot, but when you've been around for 120 years, you have a lot to say. I hope you take a little piece of my story with you. I hope it helps you when you're feeling insecure or lonely. I hope it reminds you that you are more than your appearance. You are a soul, and your soul is beautiful. Don't ever forget that. I'm 120, and I'm still here, and I'm still learning. And I think the biggest lesson of all is that love, real, messy, selfless love, is the only thing that makes the journey worth it. Go find that love, go give that love, and go be that love. Goodbye, my dear. Thank God for one more day. Now go make it beautiful. I've had many names in my life. I was the belle of the ball. I was the IT girl. I was the beautiful Mrs. Thompson. And now I'm just the old woman in room 4. But the name I like best is just Evelyn, just me. No titles, no expectations, no filters, just a woman who lived a long time and finally figured out what matters. I hope you figure it out sooner than I did. I hope you spend your life being you and not some version of you that the world wants to see, because the world is fickle, but you are permanent. Your soul is eternal. Take care of it. Feed it with good things. Surround it with good people. And don't be afraid of the passing of time. Time is just the canvas on which you paint your life. Make it a masterpiece, not a masterpiece of beauty, but a masterpiece of meaning. I'm 120. I've seen the sun rise and set over 40,000 times, and every single time it's a miracle. Don't take it for granted. Don't take your health for granted. Don't take your relationships for granted. Everything is a gift. Treat it that way. I'm going to rest now. My story is mostly told, but yours is still being written. What will the next chapter say? I hope it's a chapter about courage. I hope it's a chapter about truth. I hope it's a chapter about a girl who realized she was so much more than hot. She was a fire that burned bright and true all the way to the end. Goodbye, my dear. I'll be watching from the stars. Make me proud. Make yourself proud. Live, just live. 120 years, and it feels like a heartbeat. That's the truth of it. It all goes by in a flash, so don't waste a single second on hate or vanity or fear. Life is too short for anything but love. I've learned that the hard way, and I've learned it the beautiful way, and I'm telling you now, so you don't have to wait 120 years to know it. Love is the answer. It always was. It always will be. Go be love. Go be light. And never ever forget that you are enough, just as you are, wrinkles and all. Perfection is a lie. Life is the truth. Live the truth. Thank God for today. Now go. The world is waiting for you. 120 years. What a gift. What a journey. Thank you for being part of it. Goodbye. I can still feel the bass of the music in those old jazz clubs if I think hard enough. It was a good time. It was a fun time, but it wasn't the best time. The best time is right now, because right now is the only time I have, and right now is the only time you have. Make it the best time. Make it count. I'm 120, and I'm finally at peace. I hope you find your peace too, and I hope you find it while you're still young enough to enjoy it. Be happy, darling. Be truly, deeply happy. Not because you're pretty, but because you're alive. What a wonderful thing it is to be alive. Don't ever forget that. Goodbye, sweetheart. God bless you. 120 years. And I'd do it all again, every bit of it, but I'd spend a lot less time looking in the mirror and a lot more time looking at the world. Do that for me, okay? Look at the world. It's beautiful, just like you. Goodbye.